so we're just gonna jump back into this.
Yeah.
Um, thank you so much for contacting me again to do this. So this is really a gift for me to be able to talk to you twice. And so the universe makes very few mistakes. You know what, as King said, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. There are a lot of crazy things that are going on in this world right now. Since we've talked, the Supreme Court has come through with two pretty huge decisions, considering it's a very conservative court by the majority. We've had the decision on LGBTQ issues being considered an exempt class. And then we've also had a huge decision on DACA that has come through as well. So, in the string of that, I get an opportunity to talk to you again. And so thank you so much again for giving me another opportunity to talk to you.
No, it's my pleasure. Yeah, the dreamers. I'm so glad the Supreme Court can read. Somebody on the court can read. I know one person.
Hopefully, they read one of your collected works of poetry.
Oh no, I doubt that. But where are those kids going? Where are they going? And they speak English. They've been here all of their lives. So this was just something that Trump wanted to do to pretend, we're very upset about it. But when you start to look at the work that the dreamers are doing, how would we get along without them? Look at the hospitals, look at the nursing homes, but look at the agricultural situation. Who's going to pick? I hate to say it like that, but who's picking the grapes if they don't? So they're not only here, but they're Americans. So it's time that we face that and go on. The last time I talked to you, though, I was so angry. I really was, and I said, I'm not gonna be this angry. I'm just so tired of the stupidity and the hatred. And you really get tired of Trump. I was so glad that only about 6,000 people showed up for that so-called rally. It was very empty, and I was glad to see that you get tired of thinking that everybody's a fool. So.
And then, it came right on the heels of them making that statement. No one knew what Juneteenth was. Add that to the long list of gross, disgusting things that he has said. But to your point, yes, it was very gratifying that once again there was a discussion around how he was inflating numbers to an attendance at one of his events.
Yeah, and nobody showed up. So I was happy for the people. And I know that, it probably doesn't matter whether I'm happy or not, but it's nice to know that everybody's not a fool. There are going to be some fools, but it's nice to know that everybody's not. And it's time for America to continue, if I may use this word, evolving. We have a lot to learn, because what we've been doing lately is we are taught cowardness and jealousy. And that's not on Black Americans. White Americans have to grow up. It's just that basic, And so if people are wanting, what should we put up? Since they're tearing the monuments down, I'd like to see them put a monument up for the class of 2020, because they work so hard, and then they don't get to, and you say, well, it doesn't matter. But you work hard. You want to walk across the stage or throw your cap up, and, you want the photo and stuff. So I think we ought to put if we wonder what we're going to put up for the monuments, I think one of the monuments ought to be the class of 2020.
I agree. That's such a good point to bring up. You mentioned that you might do a speech to the graduating class. Not to give away any spoilers. If there was one thing that you could say to the class of 2020, not just at your university, but all over, from K through 12. And all those universities, what's one sort of nugget you hope that they would take away with them?
The speech that I'm giving is at Walden University. And again, these are mostly women, and they are older people. This is more a graduate degree. And I'm really hoping that they will remember the joy that they have continued on. And I hope that they remember how much it's costing them to go back to school, to get an MFA, to get another higher degree. And I hope that if they remember that, they have to know, well, then maybe the kids should not have to come out of college in so much debt. There are a couple of things that you do not own. of yourself. And one of them is your health. And we are seeing that no matter how they're doing it, you do not own your health. You have to stay healthy for the rest of us, and we want you to. So we know that health should be one of the free things. And the other is education. We know that you should, we want you to be educated, so we shouldn't want to put you into debt for it, so that somebody can be a billionaire. And, you know, I think that anybody, if somebody could call into our show right now and say, well, you know, you don't want to be rich. Well, there's rich and there's enough. And I think that our job is as teachers to say, okay, what's enough? You just can't tell me you need $1 billion. That's insane. There has to be a point that you say, oh, I have enough. I think that rich people ought to pay their share of taxes. I think that's very important. And I was driving today. I went out to get my coffee, and I was looking at the traffic, and I was thinking, you know, we're going to have to find a way to get rid of cars. And I like my car. It's blue. It makes me happy. I listen to my jazz in the morning. But we're going to have to get rid of it, you know, because with just a week, you remember, just a week, Los Angeles, all of a sudden you could see the sky. People were looking up like, oh, what is that? Oh, that's the sky, honey, because the air is so bad. And you have to think about it and say, wait a minute. Now, we've got to get rid of some of these cars. We've got to get rid of some of these factories. We've got to find a better way, is what I'm saying. And I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that. I think that we all recognize something new has to happen. I know that people in, for example, Flint, Michigan, or Washington, D.C., they want clean water. We can. These are things we can do, and these are things we must do.
You know, the 2020 election is very fast approaching. Right now, former Vice President Joe Biden is still without a running mate. From what we've been able to see, all of the top candidates are women, and rightfully so. The names range from Stacey Abrams to Kamala Harris to Amy Klobuchar to Senator Warren. Are there any names on the list, or any personalities that you are sort of looking to that you think would make a better candidate than the other, or someone that you think could sort of share some of these ideas of climate change, equal justice in the education system, and things of that nature?
I think just getting rid of the Trump people.
Anybody's better than
I really do. And yeah. I don't know who Joe is going to choose, or he might throw it open to the convention. These are not things that I know, but I know that everybody you've mentioned is capable, more than capable. And I think that the decision that's going to be made is not because somebody is a woman or somebody is of color. The decision is going to be made that this is the partner. It's like presidents and vice presidents are like a marriage. They really are. This is going to be my partner for the next 4 or perhaps even 8 years. And I think that's what you're presenting to the public. Not, oh yeah, I picked a woman. You see what I'm saying? I'm not against any woman, but at all actually. But I am comfortable with any of them. But I'm comfortable with whatever we come up with that is a good match. We're going to come up with somebody who can talk to us. Every one of those women that you mentioned, though, I can also see incredible jobs. You know, you would really love to see Dr. Adams, Stacey Adams, be Secretary of State. You know, so it's. I don't want to say it doesn't matter what she is. We the nation need her involvement. So if she's vice president, fine. If she's Secretary of State, fine. If she's National Secretary of Security, we're going to have to put these women to work. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot to be done, and we have a lot of good people. But if I could do one thing, me, Nikki, I would want to see the draft come back. I just think we need to bring the draft back. And the reason I think we need the draft back is that, one, it will stop the wars, because most people don't want their sons out killing people. We can already see what's going on. But if we had the draft, we also know that various people will be friends, as we were. If you have a black guy, a white guy, an American Indian, whatever we've got, they're going to end up coming together. They're going to end up eating each other's food. They're going to end up saying, oh, you never had that to drink. We had some level of pushing segregation down because people were together. And I think we have to do that. And the draft is a good idea. We need to bring people who are different, the people who need something and bring something to us. I just think we're not utilizing our citizens. And I think that every citizen needs to contribute. Even me, I'm 77. And I say even me. Well, the chances right now of us drafting old people is limited. But we do know that we need bus drivers for school. We need people to cook lunches. So there are things, and it would be lovely to draft people my age, and say, okay, you got to put, you're 2 years in, and I'll go, because I really do fry good chicken. I'll go and fry my chicken, or, we have to let everybody contribute, because right now we are not. We're refusing. We're pushing people who want to be of help away, and that's not good for the nation. You can see what's happening with the nation.
We've been able to see a serious resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, particularly because of the deaths of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd, and even more recently, Rashad Brooks in Atlanta. I would love to get just sort of your hot take on what's going on in our country right now, particularly as it relates to race relationships, which is something that you've written brilliantly about now for 6 decades.
Well, and you just mentioned, which is one reason I called you, because we were talking about Mr. Floyd, George Floyd, and what Black Lives Matter has done, and what that death, because I think that the people who killed him, the policeman who murdered him, I think he thought, well, it's okay because nobody's going to know who is he, and we find out the world knows him. But it's incredible. We're talking, but this weekend we had in Seattle, somebody came into it's like a blockade that they have by the police. Somebody came in and shot and killed somebody. We don't even know his name yet. We had 2 people that nobody's even talking about who were lynched in Los Angeles. And that's a photograph. Somebody said, oh, well, everybody will be upset. Nobody will be as upset as the 2 men who were lynched. That should be on the front page of the newspapers. This is what a lynching looks like in 2020. And let the world see who it, or as Emmett Till's mother said, I want the world to see what they did to my boy. We should have that photograph. We should know what that looks like. But everybody wants to say, oh, well, nobody wants to see it. It doesn't matter what they want. It matters that that's the truth. We talked about Mr. Brooks. We talked about Mr. Floyd, George Floyd. But there are people who are being murdered, just regular murdered. And we're not even talking, it's not even news. It's not even news. And that's what makes you upset. How can that not be? How can 2 men hanging from trees, how can that not be news?
It's particularly Black women as it relates to some of the larger civil rights movements that have happened in this country. A lot of the general population, they hear names like, say, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King Jr., but what they don't hear as much about are the Coretta Scott Kings or the Rosa Parks, and really the women that were sort of organizing underneath. There are a lot of unsung Black women out there in history who have really helped us get to this place. What's maybe 1 or 2 names of people that you think we're not talking about, or that history or society's not talking about, that we should be thinking more of?
There are a lot of women, but I'm really going to disagree with you and say men can't. Men can. We come together. It can be worked out. So I'm not going to pass that along. And one of the things I keep talking about, we need to look into the lynching of Appalachian women, which is one of the most quietly held subjects. There's a history that nobody's talking about. And it's got to be talked about, because soon the grandmothers who know the story will be gone. there are things that we know, is what I'm trying to say. And the stories have to be told. And you have to tell stories, and you have to go back and back and back. And your mother, your grandmother, everybody has to keep telling these stories about who we are and where we think we're going. I had my kids do Duke Ellington, had them look up Duke Ellington, and it was really funny, take the A train, and they're looking like, we're not really sure what the A train means. Well, let's find out. This music is being sung all over the world, like the death of Mr. Floyd is being protested all over the world. And so, yeah, Black Lives Matter, and that was women who started that. But we're not going to get very far without you guys, without your help. This is a community. And we have a thing here in Roanoke where I'm living up the mountain a little bit, but in Roanoke we have a thing called White Allies, because they're saying now, yeah, we should do something. And if we can't do anything else, we can say we are allies. And they're writing on the sidewalks, Black Lives Matter. I think that's wonderful.
If there is a young Black or brown teenager out there watching this, and he or she is thinking to themselves, what can I do to get more involved? I don't have a lot of money to donate, or I don't even have a credit card or something, to be able to donate yet. My mom and dad told me I can't go out and protest because it's too dangerous to do that. What can I do to get involved? What can that young creative do as an act of resistance?
Well, I hope they're reading because
yes.
it's very important. And you have a kid and you don't. There's a deal that we make with our babies, and it's the B&B. We birth you and you bury us. So we don't want you out being hurt. We would rather you stay home. You will move when it's important and necessary for you to move. You can't sit there now and say, oh, because I'm watching somebody, I ought to do that. You will know when you should. And so you have to listen to yourself. You have to learn what you can learn. There are people right there, starting with your mother and father, with the aunt down the street, with the old lady living around the corner. There are people you can do things for, and I hope you do. That there are people who need help. I used to go to the grocery store for Mrs. Black, and she lived down the park. So on Saturday morning, I would go and ask Miss Black, well, what do you need from the market? Because that I could do. I couldn't change the world, but I could do that. There's always something to be done. And you can't make yourself think, if it's not big and important, I'm not going to do it. Because it's the little loving things that you do that help you become the loving person you're going to be.
So the last time we talked, you told us about your upcoming book, Standing in the Need of Prayer. First of all, I cannot wait to read it. I cannot. Are there any other things that you would like to say about standing in the need of prayer? To build a little bit more anticipation.
I'm so excited. I just got the note from Emily. We should have it by probably the middle of July. You will get it.
Yes.
Yeah. She has done most of the work, but I'm so proud because somebody needs to say to the Black man, we love you. And I think that the response to the death of the Black men, I think that that's been important, but I think it's also good to have a response to the life. I think it's meaningful to give some flowers while you're here, to let you know we love you. I'm really so pleased. I really am.
I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me again. It really was better the second time around, for me at least. So thank you so much.
I'm embarrassed. I let my emotion get. I was just so angry at so many people just being killed, and I realized, I said, oh, I've embarrassed Durell because I was so angry, and I wasn't controlling myself very well, and so thank you for letting me come back and sound more like a human being.
Well, it was a very eloquent rage, and I think a very adequate rage for what's going on. but you have proven once again that grace and beauty can stand the test of time. And so hopefully if no one learns anything else from our two-part interview, they learn that. So thank you again.
Thanks a lot. And you take care of yourself. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be sending you a book.
Thank you.
Okay. Good deal.